What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Back to the Past. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to take you guys through my journey of platinuming Resogun. Now, here's the deal. A couple things to lay down first. This is actually the third time I've platinumed this game. I platinumed it originally on the PS4 when it first came out, and I also actually platinumed the game on Vita. Love the game, love the experience playing it on console or on Vita. Played it on PS5. Obviously, it's the PS4 version, but I actually played it on a different account because I just wanted to do, the platinum again. And a theme that we're going to talk about a lot throughout this video. I'll walk you guys through kind of how I achieved the platinum. But firstly, it was so much shorter and so much easier than I remember it being. And that's really the point I want to drive across in this video. Now, if you actually go to PSN profiles, I think it's got a 10% rating, which, it says very rare, and that is a very rare, percentage, but it could be lower. In fact, I've gotten platinums in games that are lower than that. So that's the first thing that kind of surprised me is, I'm kind of just playing through the game, going through the motions. I played this game like freaking 50, 60, 70 hours. So it's muscle memory at this point, and you just kind of get into it. And I was just unlocking trophies left and right, and I actually found, wow, I'm completing it way faster than I thought I would. So really the hardest part, I would say, of this entire platinum journey is simply the trophy. The true Resogun starts here, which is completing all levels on veteran difficulty. My plan was to play, because of course you can play like the single levels, right? And that's a good way of kind of doing some of these specific trophies we'll talk about. But then, of course, you can play through all of them. And that's also a good way, actually, if you time it right and if you play it kind of the right way, you can stack these trophies. You can unlock a lot of these trophies at once. So I know I'm pretty good at this game. And again, that's just kind of muscle memory and just something I've done so much in the past of kind of like your movement patterns in this game and just, things like that. So I just started. I fired the game up. Haven't played this game in years. I just played it on veteran difficulty. So by doing that, right, you will unlock a bunch of stuff. You'll get Conqueror because you'll get all of the levels, and you'll get completing all levels on Rookie, Experienced, and Veteran. Now, what I actually find interesting, when trophies stack, sometimes they'll give it to you and sometimes they won't. Like, they won't pop up. For this game, at least in my experience, they did not pop up. So I beat the game. I beat it on Veteran, and that was the hardest, honestly, that was the hardest trophy, just because that final level is kind of rough, and, it can get pretty hard on the harder difficulties, but I did it. I did it pretty easily, and I did it pretty fast, and so you unlock all of those trophies. I only got the trophy, I think, for Conqueror and the true Resogun starts here that popped. The other two were given to me. It just didn't actually pop, so I got scared. I thought, oh my dear God, does stacking not work anymore? Like, do you actually have to play through the freaking game 3 times and do it on 3 different difficulties? The answer is no. The answer is just play it on, at the time, the hardest, right? Then you unlock Master Rank, which you're going to have to do for another trophy, but just completing the game on the hardest difficulty to start with gets you those. And like I said, really, the bosses I found to be actually extremely easy. It was just the later levels, and because I've played the bosses so many times, in the past, but that final level is quite difficult. Just kind of enemy management. They're striking at you from all different angles. And may I say, I'm going to have a retrospective. I might have already had it up by the time you guys see this video. This game's a masterpiece. This is one of my favorite PS4 games ever created. It's one of the best launch games, I think, for any console of all time. I mean, I'm willing to say some very strong things about this game just because I love it so much. But like I said, I've played so many hours. I have that rhythm. I have that, kind of going straight towards an enemy or straight away and then doing a lot of curves, a lot of like U's, like the letter U. And when you do that, you kind of group up a lot of enemies and you're able to kind of take them out. There's a couple little tricks I have, up my sleeve to be able to handle them. But like I said, honestly, it was a very easy experience going through at least the first 3 levels, even on Veteran. It's just really those last 2 and really the last one. The last level, I think I died maybe like 6-7 times, and that one just took me a while. But once you do that, like I said, that's stacking. I mean, you'll have the first trophy in Conqueror, you'll have completing it on Rookie, Experienced, Veteran, and then you'll have completing all of the levels, because completing each actual world gets you a trophy all on its own. So there's 5 more for you. And then honestly, it's just a lot of cleanup. So I'm going to go in order of the actual PlayStation trophies and kind of tell you guys some stories, show you, how I was doing it. So saving 2 humans within a span of 1 second sounds difficult, maybe, but not really. There's a couple different ways of doing it. I mean, you can throw humans, which I actually think is another trophy of throwing it into like the pod. But all you really have to do, or at least what I did it on the fly. I remembered that this trophy existed, and I said, all right, all you do, at least to me, You pick up a human, you shoot another human, and they'll end up flying, basically, if you shoot them enough. So they'll start flying towards the sky. I just played on the easy difficulty because you need that for a couple trophies anyway. Pick up a human, shoot another human, get them so freaking close to being, captured or released, and you just have them go, and then you go with the human that you have attached to you, and it's easy. Honestly, I got the trophy, and then I did the same kind of thing to rescue a couple humans at the same time, multiple times, like back to back to back. And so I would have gotten this trophy maybe 3-4 times. Sometimes humans will both release themselves right next to the drop thing, and you can really maybe pick up a human, put them away, get the other human, put them away as well, depending on where the actual exit is, and depending on where the actual humans are let go. How do I stop this thing? Kill 50 enemies with one boost. Honestly, I did not get this one naturally. So again, I did all of this in 4 hours, less than 3 hours and 56 minutes, and I actually paused a couple times that I didn't pause the recording. Probably 3 hours and 40 minutes, somewhere around that range. A little bit more than 3.5 is how long it took me to platinum this thing. But again, I was going through it, and I was trying to do as many things naturally. Okay, let me just play the game. Let me complete the levels. I'll try to get all the humans, and we'll just see how many trophies I pop just by doing that. This one is actually one I did not get naturally, and it's actually, I use boost to get away from things, not to tackle things. There are, again, some tricks up my sleeve. There are times where you want to boost directly at a cluster of enemies and then use that end explosion to take out even more. I mean, again, there's some tricks there, and I've done that before, but weirdly enough, I believe I beat the game on veteran, so I went through all 5 levels, got all of those trophies, 8, 9, 10 trophies, and I did not do this. So I think I played it on easy again to do other stuff, and I just waited till a harder level, later level, and said, okay, let me just group up a bunch of enemies. Again, once I, in my head, thought about it and said, okay, I'm going to purposely try to take out a lot of enemies, reached the end boss of any level using boost only. This one, I believe, took me the longest. I mean, each level can be 5 to 8 minutes, so maybe technically that's the longest, but I did this simply with the first level on easy. I think I've done that all 3 times. All 3 times that I've platinumed this game, you just do the first level, you do it on easy, and you literally just do boost. It takes forever because you have to get past the phases, and you could save the humans if you want. Doesn't really matter, especially because I was just doing kind of single levels. It just takes a long time because your boost takes a little bit to come back. I would try to use it in short bursts to take out groupings of enemies and let it recharge, but that one took me a while, to be honest with you. That one I think was the most frustrating, but frustrating just because I wanted it to be done. And so in terms of all of these, their fun factor, that one was the least fun. Kill 100 enemies using overdrive. That one I do believe I did naturally, and I think I did that on the final level. Again, some of these are okay, well, if you have to take out large groups of enemies, you probably want the later levels. Playing them on the harder difficulties doesn't change too much. It changes their speed. Obviously, playing on master difficulty, right, is where they'll explode, or when you destroy them, then they'll send out a shot at you, one final shot. That one's a nightmare, right? So you don't really want to do that on later levels, but any difficulty level, but kind of levels 3, 4, 5, if you group them up enough, you can absolutely get easily 100 enemies. Actually, you could probably get more than 100 enemies. And again, the next one, complete a level on master difficulty. I knew it would be, this is where it gets hard, right? And I remember when I first started playing this game, how I reached 50 hours, because again, you can really beat the entire game in 3, 4, 5 hours, but I played it so much because I actually tried to on the leaderboard, and I think I'm still in the top 2,000 in the world at some of these levels on my original profile, which is cool. It's cool to remind myself of that, but master difficulty is something that I would push myself on back in the day. I would try to do all 5 levels, play on master, and just see how far I could make it, on the high score and stuff. And that's where the game I think is obviously at its absolute hardest. I think it's actually just where it's also the coolest, just because there's so much going on and you have to have such good peripheral vision, which I do believe I have. But all I did for this trophy was simply play the first level on master. It still is difficult. Completing arcade mode without losing all lives on experience difficulty. This one is also probably one of the harder ones, but it really is not all that difficult, right? Experienced is this game's medium. And again, the later levels can get kind of extreme. Honestly, the later levels can get kind of hectic even on easy, because that's how I did the different ships trophy, which we'll get to. But, experienced is decent. But again, to me, it's just really not that hard. And if you try, and this is what I tried to do, right? When I did this trophy, completing all of, you have to go through all 5 levels, and you have to do it without basically restarting, right? So what I tried to do with this is also get all the humans, because if I could get all the humans, you get so many perks from getting humans. You get points, you get shields, you get extra bombs, you get a lot of stuff, including lives. You also get extra lives. So by the end of it, I had like 3, 4, 5 lives, and so I actually gained lives than I had, in the beginning of the run. That, to me, I think is the best way of handling it, because you want to stay alive. You want to be able to make it through all 5 levels without dying probably between 2 to 4 times. I think I died one time in those 5 levels on medium. But if you're going to try to save all humans, which I would recommend, you're going to get so many benefits. You'll have the shields, so you can take an extra hit. I did lose a couple shields, but it's because I saved so many humans, right? So I think as a pair, that trophy works really well, and it really wasn't all that bad. And then, of course, you have saving all the humans, and then you have the breakdown, saving all the humans basically on all 5 levels, including saving a human from an abductor's beam. That one is not that one is the most natural one, I think, of the entire game. Naturally, you will lose track that a human was actually released and activated, and you won't get there in time, and then, it'll be sucked up, and you can just go in and destroy it. So that one, I think maybe I got that one like the very first trophy of the whole game. But, saving all humans, the hardest part of that one is probably clearly, right, those secret humans. So every level has either 2 or 1, and you got that secret human to the right, There's a gap between it on like the UI, and all it is keeping your multiplier above a certain point. So I think it's somewhere between the ranges of like 2 and 4, depending on which difficulty you're playing. So as long as you keep, and I try to do it as best I could, if you can keep a 3, 4, 5 multiplier, activated or active, you will get this no problem. And again, like, it's just sometimes you actually have to really focus. So what I did, I played through the whole thing, and ironically enough, I saved all the humans naturally in the first level and the 5th level. I don't know how that happened, and I didn't do it in levels 2, 3, 4. So I lost my shield or died or just ran out of like, oh, there's no enemy, so I'm going to lose my multiplier. Something happened where I actually did not do it in the middle 3 levels, but I did it in the 5th level on experienced difficulty naturally. So kind of felt good about that, and all I had to do was go back and play the middle 3 levels and just focus on, okay, I gotta keep the multiplier going. I have to kind of space out how and that's really easy, to be honest with you, at least in my opinion. It's just spacing out taking out enemies, right? Like you have 3 enemies in front of you, but nobody else will drag some of them along until you find another enemy, and then you can take those 3 out, just so you're kind of spacing it out so you're not going to lose that. But those ones are very, very easy. Of course, actually, there's literally a trophy, saving a human. That was maybe the first trophy I got, Savior, right? Save a human, get a multiplier of 5, 10, and 15. I did this naturally on my first go, because again, I tried to do all 5 levels in a row on Veteran. And Veteran and Master, right? Those are the only 2 it actually gets up to 15. I believe it goes 5, 10, 15, depending on the level the difficulty that you're at. So in order to literally get that 15x multiplier, you need to be playing it on the hardest difficulty at the time, which is Veteran, right? So that one, again, not actually very hard. It's just literally not getting hit, which is, something you have to get used to, obviously, in this game, but not getting hit, and then just spacing out, making sure you always have enemies around you, or picking up a human and saving a human. Those both will pause your multiplier, so you can save it, right? So if it's in the red, you're about to lose it. If you literally just swoop up and pick up a human, you'll stop it from being red. So that's a nice little cheat code there. And then there's completing the game with the 3 ships. So Ferox, Nemesis, and Phobos. Hopefully I'm saying it right. So that Ferox one, and maybe that's the right way of saying it, maybe it's not. I believe that's the one that's like the middle range. All of them are kind of mid. That one's my favorite. That one is the one that I have done the most heavy lifting of all 3 platinums. But I actually think that Phobos one, potentially, I actually kind of had a lot of fun, because I got so used to, okay, I only play as one ship, and I'm not a creative guy where I'm not like building my own ships that have cool stats and cool looks. So I just go with the default ones. And then I actually realized while playing this game, because, I beat the game on veteran with the 1, and then you got that trophy. Well, now you have to actually complete the game, so you have to go through all 5 levels with the other 2 ships. So you have to beat it 3 times in all, and that was probably the longest. I mean, because the game does take 30, 40, 50 minutes to go through the whole thing, even on easy, and that's what I did. I played it with the other 2 ships on easy. I actually had a lot of fun. I think they're not as fun to control, like to move around and use boost and use your overdrive and all that stuff, but they are really fun to shoot. I think the shooting of all 3 ships, especially as you get the higher weapons and you literally max them out, I think they're all really, really unique, and I'm sorry that I've discounted, I'm sorry to myself that I've discounted those other 2 ships for so long, because they're actually really, really cool. And then, well, I just kind of said it, then the final 3, fully upgrade the ship, fully upgrade the main gun, fully upgrade the overdrive. That one I feel like is natural. Maybe there's like a way of specifically doing it. I'm not aware, of any like secret kind of guide for those 3. That one to me, I believe I did just naturally again on the first go. Playing it on veteran, when you see those weapon drops or those like pluses, you just hit every single one of them and you will max out. As long as you go through all 5 levels, you'll max out your ship entirely. So honestly, a phenomenal game. I'll talk more about like the game's mechanics and all that stuff, or maybe I already did in that other video. But in terms of this video, it's an amazing game. It's one of my favorites, and I think it's just such a good platinum. There's less trophies than I remember them being, because I haven't done this in 6 or so, maybe longer, probably 7 or 8 years since I've platinumed this game. But it's just stepping back into it, right? And it's less trophies than I remember. It took way shorter of a time. I thought this game was going to take me like 3-4 days to platinum. I beat it in 1 session, and I played it for 4 hours, and that was literally it. So much easier and much faster than I thought it was going to be. But still, honestly, in my opinion, when people tell me like what's the platinums that you're most like happy about, that you feel like the best about, this is one of my go-tos. It's not number 1. I have ones that I feel more proud of than Resogun, but this is probably in my top 10. And I don't know, I feel like I can still say that, because I still do think it takes a lot of skill to do it, but it's definitely not as hard as I remember it being. So I almost wonder, okay, the hardest platinums I've ever gotten, were those that difficult, or was I remembering it wrong? But regardless, lovely game, lovely platinum. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.